Manna, as read by Rick Tobin, the author. Herschel delicately dipped twisting fresh claw pieces into a clear pot of boiling oil so elementary students could see preparation steps for their class meal project. Although an 8-foot long gigantic black crustacean was tightly secured to a nearby stainless steel table, it still rattled in its agony after having several limbs removed with a cracking hammer deftly deployed against a weak connection point on its carapace. Slowly, Yabu, let the piece drift into the oil. Don't plop it. Oil can splatter and burn you. Cooking should be fun, not dangerous. A 10-year-old black boy let his sample limb loose as Herschel had directed, letting it slide from his tongs without splashing. Like that, Herschel? The young chef asked. Yes, that was excellent. Now you may notice that the Cretan is struggling more as the chelipades cook to a bright purple in our olive oil. Remember, our oil must be 190 degrees to make all valuable juices come out of its flesh before we remove its shell to extract its delicious insides. After 20 minutes, we can reduce the oil temperature to 120 degrees and then let the meat cool slowly for 30 more minutes before we take it out to crack open. Notice we had no batter or seasoning. That can harm its DNA transfer. That is critical if we want to retain our transmittal superpowers. We will be harmed instead of enhanced from the Cretan wealth if we burn the meal. How did we find out how to do all this, Herschel? A redhead girl with a strong Bronx accent interrupted with her question. You'll all learn more when you take basic history this year, but I give you a quick summary here. Would that help you understand, Melissa? Herschel noted the inquisitor nodding her head. Herschel ignored the large alien tugging with terror on the preparation slab near the class stove. Cretans invaded Earth almost 60 years ago when we were most vulnerable. Climate change had destroyed our major crops and livestock. Starvation was widespread as countries warred with each other over whatever supplies of stored foods remained. The aftermath of those conflicts reduced our population to only a mere 100 million worldwide. These beasts landed with little resistance and began enslaving humans to build monuments to their gods and to mine whatever minerals they needed. They were particularly interested in rare earths for their spacecraft. They flew in the skies by the stars? Melissa interrupted again. Yes, child, they did, and they came here by the thousands to conquer us and then eat us. The room filled with fearful oohs and twitters of frightened students. But, but Herschel, we eat them. I'm confused. Yabu shook his dreadlocks with the blue beads slapping against his face. It's okay, everyone. Our surviving clans are now safe here in Idaho. We are thankful that the Cretans left their invasion army behind, sure that they had controlled the earth and all the survivors that were left. We fought back when they landed, but with very little success. They consumed most of our soldiers. Then a Cretan soldier was taken by our freedom fighters in Arizona. By chance, they interrogated the captive with a hot piece of metal. To their surprise, not only did it tell its secret, it smelled delicious where they burned its body. Their hunger was overpowering after smelling the odor of their roasted enemy. Within hours, they had devoured it. Then the changes came. We actually became smarter than Cretans we ate. Menkyu, a blind student from Canada, chimed in. That sounds icky. You have to understand, children. We were all starving. These evil intruders were like manna from the Bible. You know how delicious they taste now, but then It was a blessing from our prayers for the continuation of our dying races. Us! Cretans had no idea we could absorb all their knowledge into our bodies when digesting their flesh, allowing us to eventually turn on them and finally hunt them for food. These were Cretan colonist troops abandoned by their armada as it moved on to conquer other worlds. They were on their own. So that's why we're smarter now and can fly in space like they did? Melissa twisted the curls in her red hair as she looked at the boiling claw. Yes, and more. Now we raise them like cattle and pigs. Some of their surviving bands escaped underground, but we understand the Native Americans have met with the ant people who live below us. There are great battles in deep caverns within the earth, and ant people developed a taste for cretins. There is a little chance the cretons will survive anywhere outside our breeding pens. But we eat so little of their bodies and just throw their head and center parts away. Yabu looked upset. We haven't discussed that. After we take the bottom legs off and that delicious craton tail, the thorax and abdomen, along with the head, become fertilizer. We have renewed much of our exhausted farmlands by using their nutrients to recover exhausted soils. We learn from those before us to stop wasting our resources. Cretan bacteria also help us save water when tending our vegetable crops. It's a miracle. The Cretan's remaining torso and one leg clanged against its restraints as it heard its eventual fate. None of the humans paid attention as the children grabbed their shell-breaking hammers to practice on the Cretan's tail and its last leg before lunch break in their cafeteria.